It had been several days since I last wrote. That happens. People think keeping a log is discipline. It is not. Discipline is cleaning a rifle when your hands are tired. Discipline is checking a seal twice because once is how people die. Discipline is feeding an ashta before yourself because he will remember the insult and make your boots suffer for it. Writing is something else. Writing is what I do when the quiet gets too loud. I was sitting in the captain's chair of the longsword, one leg crossed over the other, boot balanced on my knee like I belonged there. I did not entirely. Some days the chair still felt like it had been built for a better man. Someone cleaner, someone with metals polished enough to see his own reflection in them. But it was my chair now. The cockpit was dark except for the glow of the displays, blue light across the controls, amber pulses from the nav board, a soft green flicker from the sensor screen. The ship spoke in the language of bleeps, low hums, cooling fans, and the occasional click from a relay that I kept meaning to replace and kept forgetting because it had not killed me yet. Outside the viewport, there was nothing. That is not poetic, that is space. Black stretched in every direction, deep enough to swallow thought. Stars sat sharp and distant, cold pinpricks against the endless dark. Off my port side, a few hundred yards away, the science vessel Caldera Finch drifted along its survey course, close enough that if trouble appeared, I could be between it and them before their captain finished saying my name. Far enough away that their instruments could do whatever delicate little dance scientists needed them to do without my engines stepping on their toes. We were escorting them from the Sol system to Wolf. Apparently there was a gas giant they wanted to observe. Apparently, the UC decided I was the man to make sure nobody interrupted them while they stared at it. That is the glamorous life. You survive spacers, sign enlistment papers, fly missions, and eventually, your job becomes guarding people who get excited about atmospheric readings. Behind me, Archer slept on the floor. Not in the padded restraint nest I bought him. Not on the reinforced mat the quartermaster swore was large animal approved. Not even on the shock-absorbent bedding I had traded 2 crates of surplus rations for after he tore the first one apart. No, Archer slept in a pile of my old clothes, shirts, a jacket I had outgrown, 2 undersuits, a scarf Mara knitted that I never wore because it itched like punishment. All of it balled into a nest in the corner behind the captain's chair. He had dragged the pile there himself and defended it like a fortress. I had tried to take the clothes 3 times to wash them. The first time, he put one paw on the pile and stared at me until I reconsidered. The second time, he took the clothes in his mouth and moved them under the engineering console. The third time, he growled so low the ship's vibration monitor picked it up. So now my old clothes were Archer's bed. They smelled like oil, dust, old sweat, and home. Maybe that was the point. I looked back at him. His blue teal-plated hide rose and fell slowly, each breath shifting the layered armor along his back. One claw twitched in his sleep. Dreaming, maybe. Chasing goats, threatening mechanics. Winning arguments he started with furniture. Must be nice, I muttered. He did not wake. The longsword hummed. The science vessel drifted. Open space stared back. I opened my datapad and stared at the last words I had written, and behind us, Aquila City stayed alive in the dust. For a while, I listened to the ship. Then I set my thumb to the screen. Now where was I? Right. The repairs. After the trip to Aquila City, life did not return to normal. That is another lie people like. Back to normal. Like normal is a place on a map you can find if you walk long enough. The farm had been attacked. Men had died in the yard. Dane had handed me his old Vanguard badge. Ranger Vale had spoken to him in a voice low enough that I could not hear, which meant the conversation had either been about me or something worse. Normal was gone. What came after was work. Work was honest. The south fence had to be rebuilt almost from the ground. The old water collector needed new casing. 2 valve seals, a pressure plate, and 3 days of Dane swearing at it like insults could weld metal. The porch had bullet scars across the rail and a section of steps that groaned every time someone put weight on it. Mara said the groan gave the house character. Dane said the house had enough character and needed fewer ways to kill guests. The goat pen had to be reinforced because one of the animals discovered freedom during the attack and immediately decided it hated the responsibility. Archer's wound had to be cleaned twice a day. He hated that more than vehicles. Mara would hold the salve. I would hold Archer's head. Dane would stand nearby and say helpful things like, "Don't let him bite through your wrist." Archer never did. Not completely. Mara fussed over me too. I did not know what to do with it. She kept checking my hands, my eyes, the side of my head where a round had passed close enough to leave a burn line along my ear. She made extra food and pretended it was because she had misjudged portions. She set blankets near the couch when she thought I might sleep there instead of my room. She asked if I wanted tea more than any human being should be legally allowed to ask. I told her I was fine. She ignored me. Dane told her to stop coddling me. She ignored him harder. "He fired a rifle at men yesterday," she snapped one evening while stirring stew with unnecessary violence. "He can be coddled for a week. He needs work, not pillows. He has been working. He needs more. He needs sleep. He needs to not think the world stops because he survived a hard thing." I sat at the table between them, spoon halfway to my mouth, wishing spacers would attack again so the conversation could become less dangerous. Mara pointed the spoon at Dine. "And you need to stop acting like pain is a certificate of manhood." Dine looked at me. "See what happens when you get shot? Everyone becomes dramatic." "You got shot," I said. "Barely." Mara slammed the spoon down. Dane picked up his bowl and quietly moved it closer to himself. That was marriage, I learned. Knowing when to defend your position and when to protect your stew. Over the next few weeks, the farm healed in pieces. Not cleanly, not perfectly. The new fence rails did not match the old ones. The porch boards were lighter where we replaced them. The burn mark near the south ridge stayed black no matter how much dust covered it. The water collector wheezed differently after Dane's repairs, like it was offended by survival. But it worked. We worked. Every morning the sun came up over Aquila's hard land, and there was something to fix, something to haul, something to feed, something to mend. When my thoughts wandered too close to the spacer I shot, Dane put a hammer in my hand. When my hand shook for no reason, Mara asked me to carry water. When Archer paced at night, I walked the perimeter with him until both of us remembered the farm was still there. I kept Dane's badge in my room at first, then in my pocket, then under my pillow, then back in my pocket because sleeping on metal is stupid. I did not know what to do with it. That was the problem. A stolen cred chip had a purpose. Food had a purpose. A rifle had a purpose. Even anger had a purpose if you aimed it right. But that badge was not a tool. It was a question, and I did not like questions that waited. A few weeks after the attack, a man in a UC Marine uniform came to the farm. I saw the dust trail first. One vehicle, coming slow along the road from Aquila City. Too clean to be local, too official to be a traitor. Archer saw it too and rose from the shade near the shed, plates lifting along his spine. "Easy," I told him. He glanced at me in a way that said he was easy, and everyone else should try harder. Dane came out of the barn before the vehicle reached the yard. That told me plenty. He was expecting it. The Rover stopped by the gate. A man stepped out in a pressed UC Marine uniform, dark green and black, boots polished despite Aquila's best efforts. He was not young, but not old either, hard to place. The kind of man who carried age in the eyes before it reached the face. His jaw was clean-shaven, his hair cropped close, and his posture belonged to someone who had been corrected by drill instructors until his bones accepted the argument. He looked around the farm. The repaired fence, the patched porch, the blast mark near the yard. Archer. His eyes stopped on Archer longer than most people's did. Archer showed him every tooth. The Marine did not step back. That put him ahead of half Aquila City. "Dane Harrow," he called. Dane walked toward him. "Major." "Major. Not Mr. Not officer. Major." I leaned against the fence rail and watched. The Marine offered his hand. Dane took it. They spoke quietly at first. Too quietly. Dane pointed toward the house. The Marine nodded. Then both of them went inside like this had been planned before the dust even settled. I stared after them. Mara came up beside me carrying a basket of laundry. "Close your mouth," she said. "Who is that?" "Someone here to speak with Dane." "About what?" "Probably something they will discuss." "You knew he was coming?" "Yes." I looked at her. She looked back. Mara could have interrogated a wall into confession. "Does everyone know things before me?" I asked. "Usually. That's comforting." It was not meant to be. She handed me the basket. "I'm not doing laundry while a UC Marine is in our kitchen." "You are absolutely doing laundry while a UC Marine is in our kitchen." "Mara." "Craven." The way she said my name ended the battle before I understood it had begun. I took the basket. Archer followed me around back, because if anything suspicious was happening, he preferred to observe it from a position where he could also knock over a wash basin. From the line behind the house, I could see through the kitchen window if I stood at exactly the wrong angle, which I did by accident several times. Dane sat at the table. The Marine sat across from him. Mara poured caf for both of them, then left them alone. That made me more nervous than anything else. Dane spoke first. The Marine listened. Then the Marine took out a small slate and set it on the table. Dane did not touch it. The Marine said something. Dane shook his head. The Marine said something else. Dane looked out the window, right at me. I dropped a shirt into the dirt. Mara's voice came from behind me. "Subtle." I spun. "How long have you been there?" "Long enough to watch you lose a fight with laundry." "I wasn't spying." "You were spying badly. What is going on?" Mara looked toward the kitchen window. For a moment, the sharpness in her softened. "Dane believes you have a choice to make. That Marine is here because of me. He is here because Dane asked him to come." The basket suddenly felt heavier. "He contacted the UC?" Mara did not answer. She did not have to. My first feeling was anger, not because I loved the idea of being left alone. I hated being left alone. I hated being pushed too. Most of my life had been other people deciding what should happen to me. Security, courts, transfers, foster placement, rules, boundaries, consequences. I thought Dane was different. He was supposed to be different. "He had no right," I said. Mara's eyes hardened. "Careful." "He didn't ask me." "No," she said. "He opened a door. You decide whether to walk through it." I didn't ask for a door. Most people don't. They ask for walls because walls feel safer. I hated when she sounded wise. It was worse because she usually was. Inside, the Marine stood. Dane stood with him. Then the Marine turned toward the back door. My stomach sank. Archer stepped between me and the house. "Move," I muttered. He did not. "Traitor." His tail flicked. The Marine came out onto the back porch and stopped when he saw Archer blocking the path. He considered the Ashta. Archer considered him back. Dane stood in the doorway behind him, arms crossed, expression unreadable. The Marine looked at me over Archer's plated back. "Craven Hammerfell?" I wiped my hands on my pants, which only moved dirt from one place to another. "Depends who's asking." Mara sighed. Dane closed his eyes for half a second. The Marine did not smile, but I saw the edge of one try to happen. "Major Elias Rourke, United Colonies Marine Corps." I didn't do anything. This time he did smile. Barely. "Not why I'm here." That's what people say right before explaining what I did. "I've read your file. Then you know I'm good for it." Dane made a low sound from the doorway. Rourke glanced at him, then back at me. "Your official file is a mess." "Thanks. Your unofficial one is more interesting." I did not like that. There's an unofficial file. There is always an unofficial file. That sounded true enough to be depressing. Rourke stepped off the porch slowly, giving Archer room. Smart man. Archer did not move away, but he did stop showing all his teeth. Progress. "I spoke with Ranger Vale," Rourke said. Of course he had. "And with Dane. Heard about what happened here." Then you heard spacers attacked and we got lucky. I heard you held position under fire, coordinated with a bonded Ashta without verbal command, drew a turret off a civilian structure, and helped disable a raiding crawler. That sounds cleaner than it was. Reports usually do. I was scared. Good. I stared at him. Why does everyone keep saying that? Because anyone who isn't scared under fire is either lying or a danger to the people next to him. That sounded like Dane. I looked toward my foster father. He gave nothing away. Rourke continued. The Vanguard could use people like you. There it was. The word landed between us like a live round. Vanguard. Not UC security, not Marines, not some correctional labor outfit dressed up as opportunity. The Vanguard. The badge in my pocket seemed to heat against my leg. I'm not joining anything, I said. Rourke nodded like he expected that. May I ask why? No. He waited. I hated patient people. They need me here, I said finally. Mara's face changed. Dane's did not. The farm? Rourke asked. My family. It came out before I could stop it. Family. The word hung in the dusty yard. Mara looked down. Dane looked away. Archer leaned his weight against my leg, which ruined whatever dignity I had left. Rourke's voice softened by half an inch. That is not a small reason. No, it isn't. But it may not be the whole answer. It's enough. Is it? I stepped closer. Archer moved with me. Rourke wisely held his ground without challenging either of us. You don't know me, I said. I know some. You know reports, records, whatever stories Dane told you. I know you came from the well. My jaw tightened. I know you had a record before you were old enough to understand what a record can become. I know you were sent here because someone thought distance might accomplish what punishment could not. I know Dane Harrow does not recommend people lightly. I know Ranger Vale described you as difficult, reactive, loyal, observant, and irritatingly honest when cornered. Despite everything, I almost smiled. That last part sounds like her. And I know you've been carrying Dane's old Vanguard badge in your right pocket since I arrived. My hand went to it. Rourke looked at the movement, then back to my face. People who have no interest in a path usually don't carry its symbol. I wanted to throw the badge at him, not because he was wrong, because he was not. I don't belong in the UC, I said. Why? No. Because I know what they think when they look at someone like me. What do they think? That I'm a thief from the well pretending to stand straight. Rourke was quiet. Then he said, Are you? I did not answer. The old me would have. Fast, sharp, something that cut before it could be used against me. The new me hated how often silence told the truth. Dine stepped off the porch. You are not being ordered, he said. I turned on him. You contacted them. Yes. Without asking me. Yes. Why? His answer came slowly. Because you would have said no before thinking. I just said no after thinking. No. You reacted after feeling cornered. That is different. My hands curled. Mara moved slightly, not between us, but near enough to remind both of us she could end the conversation with a look if required. Dane stopped in front of me. I told you to think about the Vanguard. You avoided thinking by working until your hands bled. Work needed doing. It did. And you did it. But the work is not an answer. This farm needs protection. This farm needed protection before you came here. It will need protection after you leave, if you leave. You got shot last time. Barely. Stop saying barely like bullets respect confidence. Mara said. Finally, something sensible. Dane ignored her, which was dangerous. He looked past me toward Archer. You think staying here keeps us safe? I know it helps. You think we raised you to become another fence post? That hit harder than I expected. I took a step back. Dane's face softened immediately, but he did not take it back. You are good here, he said. You have become good here. But good can become fear if you use it to avoid becoming more. I hated him then, only a little. enough that my eyes burned and I pretended it was dust. Rourke let the silence breathe before speaking. "The Vanguard is not a prison," he said, "and it is not the Marines. You would not be signing your life away into a command chain you cannot escape. You would serve, you would choose assignments, you would learn, you would be tested, you would fail at some of it. Everyone does." "Good pitch," I said. "It wasn't finished." "Shame." He looked at Archer. "And there are questions about whether your companion could be cleared to remain with you under special handling status." Archer lifted his head. I stared. "With me? Possibly. You allow Ashta in the Vanguard?" "Not usually." "Then no." Rourke tilted his head. "You didn't let me finish that either. I don't go without him." The answer was immediate. Bone deep. Whatever else I did not know, I knew that. Archer had been mine since the garbage bin, since the first bite, since the first time he trusted me enough to sleep. I had stood between him and a shotgun. He had stood between me and a turret. There was no path worth taking if it required leaving him behind like old farm equipment. Rourke studied us both. "I was told you would say that." Diane suddenly found the horizon interesting. I looked at him. "You told him?" Dane said nothing. Mara smiled into her sleeve. Rourke continued. "No promises, but special circumstances exist. Frontier scouts, hazard recovery, survey escorts, security detachments operating near hostile wildlife zones. A bonded Ashta with field discipline would be unusual, not impossible." I looked at Archer. He scratched behind his jaw with one claw, then sniffed the laundry basket and tried to steal a shirt. "Field discipline," I said. Rourke watched Archer pull the shirt halfway out of the basket. "Developing field discipline." I took the shirt back. Archer growled softly. "Very developing," I said. Rourke reached into his coat and removed a small slate. He held it out, not unlike Dane had held the badge. Recruitment information, probably. Training outlines, contact codes, a future pretending to be paperwork. I did not take it, not at first. "You should understand something," Rourke said. "The UC chose to reach out because of Dane's recommendation and Ranger Vale's report, but no one is begging. No one will drag you off this farm. If you say no, this conversation ends. And if I say yes, then your life gets harder." "That's your recruitment speech?" "Yes." Dane grunted. "Better than lying." Rourke's eyes stayed on me. "You will be judged. Your record will follow you. Some people will expect you to fail. Some will want you to. You will be asked to stand between danger and people who may never learn your name. And on some days, that will feel noble. On most days, it will feel like work." The slate waited in his hand. "What do I get?" I asked. "Purpose, if you earn it." I laughed once. Not because it was funny, because it was exactly the kind of thing that would have made younger me spit at his boots. Now it made me afraid. I took the slate. It was lighter than the badge. Somehow worse. Rourke nodded. "Read it, think. I'll be in Aquila City for 3 days. You just wait around farms recruiting troubled strays?" "No, usually they have fewer teeth." Archer sneezed. That time, even Dane smiled. Rourke left near sundown. The dust from his rover hung in the air long after he disappeared down the road. None of us spoke for a while. Mara gathered the laundry I had failed to protect. Dane checked the water collector, though it did not need checking. Archer took the stolen shirt the moment Mara's back turned and carried it to the shade like a trophy. I stood in the yard with the slate in one hand and the badge in my pocket. 2 waits, 2 doors, neither one asking politely. That night I sat on the repaired porch after everyone else went inside. The boards beneath me were new, pale against the old wood, scars beside fresh repairs. The whole farm was like that now. Maybe I was too. Archer lay at my feet chewing the corner of my old shirt. "Don't swallow that," I said. He ignored me. The slate rested on my knee. I had opened it 3 times and closed it 3 times. Vanguard registration, candidate assessment, service options, basic requirements, waivers, probationary review, field aptitude, words mostly. but behind them I saw things that were not words. The well, Aquila, spacers, Dane bleeding and pretending not to, Mara holding my face in her hands, Ranger Vale looking at me like I was something not yet decided, Major Rourke saying, "People who have no interest in a path usually do not carry its symbol." I pulled the badge from my pocket. The worn navy metal caught the porch light. The orange mark glowed soft. Archer stopped chewing and looked at it. "You don't get a vote," I told him. He blinked. That meant he disagreed. I leaned back against the porch post and looked out over the dark farm. The fence was repaired. The collector worked. The goats were alive and ungrateful. Mara and Dane were inside, their voices low through the wall, arguing gently about something domestic enough to hurt. I could stay. That was the thing. For the first time in my life, staying was an option. No one was chasing me. No transport was waiting. No judge was sending me away. No hunger was pushing me into someone's pocket. I had a bed, a family, work that mattered, an Ashta who would follow me through fire and then steal my laundry. I could stay, and maybe that was why leaving finally meant something, because it would be a choice. I looked down at the slate, then at the badge, then at Archer. He rested his chin on my boot, heavy and warm and alive. "I don't know," I whispered. The stars above Aquila gave no answer.